Hejsa. Today is day 17 of the 100-day project, and you may have seen the previous video where I showed what I had made from day 1 until day 10, but they're here. I'll link to that video if you want to see them a bit closer. So then I have day 11, 12, 13 and 14 was a little butterfly because that was all there was room for. I quite like how this turned out. The colors are a bit sort of, I'm not 100% sure that I love them, but I like this contrast here with the blue and the yellow. I like that a lot. Although it's not usually a color combination I use. Or yellow with the very sort of dark purple. So what was that? 11, 12, 13, 14. And this is 15. And this is 16. And I thought I would show you my process of making one of these fabric collages. So what I use is scraps, tiny little scraps that are no use for a quote block or really anything else. I suppose you could maybe use them to make some cards or something. This offcut would be fun to make something for a card maybe, but I'm using it for this. So I have no idea of what I want to make when I sit down every day and work on these. I just sort of tip out the scraps from that paper bag, and then I see what catches my fancy, and then I take it from there. Alright, let's get on with the show. I almost said. Let's get on with the collage. So straight away, these two random bits of this electric lime green, yellow green has caught my eye, and it sort of goes along with this green, although this is more of the sort of yellow. So I think that I'm going to start with this color as my base, and then see what else I can find. So there's a sort of pinkish color here. I think that will go nicely with that. Although maybe a little bit too close to the square over here. Maybe I can find another pink. What about this one? It's more pink than the other one. I suppose I can use them together. So I'm going to keep them for now. And then there's some blue here. I quite like this. And it's actually the same one I used in the middle of this flower. So I guess it would be nice to sort of use the same color again to tie things together. Not that necessarily the elements have to be sort of tied together to a cohesive thing. I don't mind that they're all sort of all over the place. That's fine. Oh, here's another little pink piece. Could use that maybe. Some more of this pink. I keep finding pink, so maybe that means that it's pink that I'm going to use. So if I start with this green, so they're all different sizes and shapes. So I'm just having a look to see how I could cut them. I don't really want to make a sort of pointed flower or like the rays of the sun here. So I'm trying to think, maybe if I cut them into little circles and put the little circles on top of the pink, so some larger pink circles. Yes, I think I'll try that. And as I said, I have no idea what I'm going to make when I sit down to make these. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. And I think that's part of the fun. That you have to think on your feet as you're making this sort of thing. Right, so now I have cut a bunch of these yellow-green circles. I have a bad habit of cutting things over my base fabric, so I get all these little bits. I really shouldn't do that. Right, so now I need to cut some larger pink circles. Okay, so I have got my pink circles. Now I'm just going to lay them out, but being careful not to get too close to the edge because I'm planning on making this into a textile book, so I need to make sure that I leave a seam allowance. So now I'm not sure if I want to overlap it into the other square, but I quite like it when it does overlap because it breaks the squares. So what about if I put them like this in a sort of semicircle, and then the green can go on top. And then I'm going to make a stem. So maybe if the stem Actually, if I move this over a little bit. I was thinking maybe I should turn it around so you can see the actual print, but I think that would be too distracting, so I'll just use the back of the fabric. And I don't mind if stems or really any of the elements are a little bit uneven. I think it just adds to it. I don't always trim, especially stems, to exactly the length I want. Sometimes I cut them a little bit longer, just so I have some flexibility in case I decide maybe I want it a little bit further away from the main stem or whatever. I can always trim it off if it's too long. So now that I have things more or less where I want them, I'm gonna glue them down. And I'm gonna start with the flowers. I'm not gonna put a lot of glue on it. It's basically just so that it stays in place. And I usually leave the edges unglued so that stems I can sort of push underneath. I rarely start with the stems because they're a little bit flimsy. And it's easier to put the stems down when you know where they lead to and from. So that's why I prefer to start with the flowers first. This is not a fabric glue, but I think it is okay to use with fabric. It's a clear glue and it has this very fine nozzle, which makes it easy to put glue on all these tiny little bits. And the glue is not what's going to hold the fabric collage in place. So I basically just need enough glue on there to hold it in place until it's sewn on the sewing machine. I think I have decided that I probably won't do any of the main sewing on this by hand, but I will do some sort of decorative stitching on there at some point. And I suppose I could change my mind and do some stitching to hold things in place as well. I certainly won't rule it out. don't know if you can see, there's a little triangle of this one that sticks out. So I'm going to see if I can trim that off. Hopefully that's enough. And I'll trim this one as well. So now I need to decide if I want to add any leaves on this. And if I do, what kind of fabric I want to use. I'm tempted to use this and just cut some sort of narrow, kind of like these ones here, but a bit longer. Yeah, let's try that. When I'm cutting several of the same type of element, I like to cut one or two at the same time to speed things up, but also sometimes you get some fun sort of irregularities because there's more than one layer that the scissors have to move through. I'm not 100% sure about this. Maybe the leaves are too big. Maybe if I put a big one at the bottom, like that maybe. And then I cut a couple that are a bit smaller. How's that? I kind of feel like there should be some little leaves there maybe. I might just have enough of this blue fabric to make little leaves. I'm trying not to get too caught up in what I think this should look like and trying to let the materials sort of speak for themselves. Just sort of moving things around. A millimeter here and a millimeter there can make a big difference. But of course there's also the danger that you keep fiddling with it for too long. So sometimes you just have to make a decision, say, that's it. Stop. You put enough on there. And I think that's where I am right now. So I'm just gonna quickly add some glue before I change my mind. A nice thing about this glue is that you have a short window where you can reposition things if you put it down a little bit wrong or you change your mind. Alright, that's the last one. So now I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and stitch it all down, and then I'll show you once it's done. Here is the finished flower with the machine stitching on it. I'm quite happy with how that turned out. Half an hour ago, or whatever it has been, I had no idea what I was going to make, and now I made this. I quite like this sort of halo that I've stitched outside the flower. I've done that a few times already in this project, and I think I'll probably do that again. I quite like the effect of it. And when I say that I sit down and I have no idea what I'm going to make, that's absolutely true. But I think I also do get influenced by things that I've made already during the project. Like these blue leaves here, like the multiple little leaves together. I think that's something I want to make again. I quite like how that turned out. And maybe this sort of shape will turn up again. That was quite fun to make. So that is day 17 of my 100 project in the bag. So almost 20% done with this project. That's pretty good. So now there's only 83 days left. I can't wait to see what I make next. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see what else I make during this project, do subscribe so you don't miss any of it. I hope you have a great day and happy stitching.